Purpose Chasers, I'm very, very excited to have Mr. Termanology, aka Mr. Daniel Carrillo,
Yep.
on with me, the author of 100 Ways to Be a Better Dad, the founder of a Good Dad Gang movement, and one of my favorite hip hop artists of all time. I
Appreciate you.
will say that. I will say that. I'm mildly biased as I work with Neff, but I do love you. We are going to break down his book, 100 Ways to Be a Better Dad, in which he advocates for men who are going through custody battles and maybe experiencing court disputes and all of the ins and outs that go into that side of it. I witnessed the backside of it of being a kid. I don't know what it means to advocate for your children as I am still in my marriage, but this book has challenged me day in and day out. It's become a daily affirmation book for me, and it challenges me to be a better dad. We are going to break down this episode. In this episode, we're going to break down several chapters and dive into his advocacy work in his Good Dad Gang movement. Very, very excited to have you on here. I mean, the Purpose Chasers know my story of being a ward of the state and all of the custody disputes that I went through
Mm.
to get past this book from Neff, to read it and for it to hit me, to then start following not only your music career, which I'd been following for, a well over a decade, to get past this book and learn a level of terminology that I just did not know. Daniel, this man, this educator, this human that took a stand in an industry that to me glorifies leaving and adultery. And this book and the message of the Good Dad Gang is standing and staying firm. Thank you so much for coming on. This means the world to me to interview you
No doubt.
and to highlight this book and this work. Thank you for the time.
No doubt. All good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
I want to dive into the story of, obviously you have a very lavish hip hop career, which this interview is not going to highlight because it would go on and on and on and on. At what point in your hip hop career did you get guided to start to build this Good Dad Gang brand and get moved to writing this book?
Yeah, no doubt. I think just like having my first kid changed me as a person. Just that within itself was the beginning. Because before that, I was just wilding, getting in trouble, just, being young, making a lot of mistakes. But once I had my first child, I was like, all right, it just gave me a reason to live. It just gave me a purpose to live. So after like having the first kid, it just changed my mentality overall as a person. And then having the second kid is like kind of more where I came up with the Good Dad Gang idea. And now I'm kind of more like a seasoned vet of a parent. And even though I'm on my second child and, I have some experience and I think I'm a great dad, I'm still going through some of the same issues I went through with the first kid. And sometimes facing two different separate sets of issues at the same time with two different moms and two different kids, also living in two different cities. And trying to juggle all of that is just a lot. So I just really took pride in being a parent. And then, around about, I would say about like 12 years ago, I really started kind of moving towards like the father's rights movement, just understanding what we go through as fathers in the courthouse and what we go through with constantly every time you break up with, your girl or your baby mom or your wife. It's like you're faced with the reality that when you guys break up, she's taking the kids. Um, if you guys all live together and she just wakes up one day and she's like, "Nah, I'm not feeling you no more. I'm moving out." She ain't leaving the kids. Most of the time, she's taking the kids. So whether it's your fault or not, your kids get taken away from you to a sense, and they get taken out of your household, and you turn into a weekend dad or every other weekend dad, even against your own wishes. That happens to a lot of people, and I feel like that is so crazy that that's the way that it's set up in society and specifically in America. So considering that, we're faced with that among a million other things, I came up with the idea, Good Dad Gang, just hanging out with my kids all the time, going to the park, going to the museum, going here and there, just doing cool stuff with them all the time. and just posting pictures with them on social media, Good Dad Gang, which turned into a hashtag, which turned into a t-shirt, which turned into a clothing company, which then turned into a worldwide movement, which turned into a nonprofit, and now we got the book. So it's deep, man. It's I would say, 21 years of expertise on being a part-time dad, trying to be a full-time dad, you know, and then running a movement, creating a movement that a lot of people can relate to and want to be a part of. And that's Good Dad Gang. That's the creation, and that's where we're at.
I want to dive into some sections of the book and break them down. And these are, I've gone through this
Okay.
and it's impacted me in a way that, like, I lived a lot of what you're advocating for, right? Like, except they bailed. They just weren't there. My dads were not there. And so one of the stands that I'm taking as a father in point 9 that you make in 100 Ways to Be a Better Dad, you discuss breaking generational curses. And this is something that has been really, really just stamped in my life. As I haven't shared this anywhere. We actually, my boys have not seen my family in over a year, neither my adopted or my biological family. They've never known my biological family, and this is a stand that I took to end stuff that I witnessed as a kid. And I want to read this, and I'd love to hear your perspective on it. The next topic is a big one for me. As we grow up, many of us are left with baggage, our family left behind for us to deal with. Some examples of that baggage are debt, living in poverty, poor diet, drug abuse, alcoholism, mental illness, childhood trauma, and more. Awareness of these issues could really help ensure that our child doesn't follow in our footsteps of anything negative in your family's history or past. Stay on top of this so you can help break these negative cycles. And when I read this, it slammed me because I know that I'm living in this on a daily basis, and this is something that I have to be aware of based off what you said. I have to take an active view of this so that it doesn't pass on. Can you share the power of this passage and how you translate this into your being a good dad?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that it's one of the most important things. Like, one of the most important chapters in the book is this chapter, chapter 9. And it takes us a lot of time sometimes to understand what that chapter really means, or to even understand that that chapter exists. So you're like, okay, breaking generational curses. Well, what's a generational curse? My father, was a unhealthy eater. Um, all my uncles were alcoholics. My mother wasn't good with money. Just, whatever the case, right? There's those simple ones. Then you got the deeper ones like drug abuse. Then you got even, just all of that stuff. Just all of it. It's just better to know, to get to know that and to understand what's going on, so you can just make sure that you stay away from it. And I think that one of the things that made me a good dad was just trying to learn from all my parents' mistakes. I think that is the main key of it. And learning from their parents' mistakes, and learning from uncles, aunts, family members, friends, just watching people just really drop the ball all around you. You're like, okay, I can't do that when it's my shot. You know what I mean? So just stuff like that. I feel like the education wasn't there back in the days. So we kind of give our parents a pass on like why we might have ate McDonald's every single day. Where now it's 2025, it's like, nah, like, you know now what eating fast food every day would do to somebody's body, specifically a child, right? And the way it would affect them and how they grow up, and ADHD, they bouncing off the walls, they got acne, there's hormones in it, there's all these different things um that my parents didn't know. They're just like, yeah, it's $1 for a cheeseburger. The kid wants a cheeseburger. We got no food in the house. Drive through. Here you go. Have a nice day. You had dinner. Dollar. And it's like that was as deep as it went. And now it's like, unfortunately, we're more aware of how important it is for our kids to be eating healthy, but still, we're still busy. We're still going through financial crisis. We're still going through inflation. And you're like, all right, buy the kid a $20 salad or the dollar cheeseburger is still there. So not getting down on any parents who don't have this knowledge yet or who, can't afford to live the healthiest life, but we got to do some research and we got to try to do our best for these kids because, all the way up until 18 minimum, we're responsible for them. You know what I mean? Everything that happens, whether we start a bank account for them or we don't, whether we get ready for a college fund for them or we don't, whether we, try to inspire them to go to school or, or just let them do whatever they want. And it's like, yo, I just been trying my hardest these last, 20 years to just try to contribute positive things to my kids versus, all the generational curses that I went through.
And one of the things that I've been able to witness through following your work in the Good Dad Gang and the nonprofit charitable work that you're doing inside of your community is one of the fastest turnarounds of you did a collaboration on merch that dropped from Good Dad Gang, and it sold out, and the turnaround of what you stated you were going to donate, I saw it back in the community this week, and it really lit me up in a in a really, really powerful way, because not only are you talking about the principles that you wrote in the book and that you're sharing in a hashtag, you're in the trenches giving back with people that are also in the music industry with you that may not get to see that perspective. What has that been like for you? That journey of pulling people into getting to see a side that they may not get to see otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about is giving back, especially when we do the stuff with the nonprofit or if you tell somebody, hey, if you buy this collaboration, we're giving money back to kids and buying backpacks and school supplies and things of that nature. If you say you're gonna do something like that, you better do it. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta be a man of your word. And that's one of the reasons I've been able to have a career like this and be in the game for 20 years now is because I really do what I say and I really help my friends and I really help the community and having good intentions and actually executing. You got to execute. You tell the Boys and Girls Club that you're pulling up with 100 backpacks full of school supplies on the hottest day of the year. It is 2 hours away and you're not feeling good. It doesn't matter. You got to get in your car, gas up the car, get fresh, go over there, pack the 100 bags, go there, stand there with a smile and give those bags away because that's what you said you were going to do. And anything else is an excuse, and an excuse is unacceptable. So there's no excuses over here. You know what I mean? We're not doing that, especially when it comes to Good Dad Gang.
Mm.
We're showing up.
One of the things that I've witnessed from, and Neff taught me, passed down from you, was being a good dad is not, it's not convenient, because my definition has now been raised of what it means to be a good dad. And so I can't be a good dad at the park sending texts out and
Right.
editing videos.
Yeah.
So now for me, through Neff, I have to be fully present. My boys will call me out.
Yeah.
Put your phone away, daddy. It's our time.
Well, shout out to them for that because we get so stuck in our job and our phone. We get stuck trying to chase the bag. We get stuck being stressed out, being in our own head. We get so caught up that sometimes we're there with these kids, but we're not present. And sometimes we let them just go play on the phone all day long and we don't even really do nothing with them because we're so busy or we're so distracted ourselves. So hearing something like that, where you say that, you, Neff, and other dads are like, okay, nah, we're going to the park, phones off for at least the next hour. I'm here to, do what I came here to do. And stuff like that, I think that goes a long way. When we were at the Boys and Girls Club, they have a camp in Fall River, Massachusetts. We went over there yesterday, gave away 100 backpacks through the Vincent and Good Dad Gang collaboration. One of the things that the guy said was, we don't let the kids bring their phones here. We actually have activities for them to do all day. You got 45 minutes in the pool, 45 minutes on the basketball court, 45 minutes you can go to the reading library, 45 minutes you can go to the technology room, 45 minutes you can, like, they're not just letting these kids just play on their phone all day. And I just think that is so special because it's really so hard for us to get away from technology. It's impossible. My phone rings constantly, like all hours of the night. Calls, like one call will cut the other call off because there's so many calls coming in. And you got to learn how to just turn it off and be a dad and just be a parent. Sometimes you got to make time for it.
As a practitioner, and you don't know this, and I'll pull out my gray hairs. I practiced therapy for 10 years, and as a practitioner and in working with patients and doing that work, I was really brought back to that work by number 33.
Mm.
And crying is the topic. And what came out of this for me, as a once professional and now a two-time dad, is I'm going to get vulnerable here. I constantly attempt to suppress my children's emotions, especially around crying, based off of, what you've written here. I'm going to read this for you. When we were kids, many of our parents said, "Stop crying, or I will give you something to cry about." And I must tell you, like, that's all I heard as a kid. I will give you, and I usually got something to cry about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was a whack upside the head. What was that for? Not for what you did. It's for what you're going to do. I was always living down the line.
That's real.
Back to the reading. Looking back on that statement, I can now say that this was very toxic behavior. If your child is being respectful and not harming themselves, then we should let them express how they feel. And I'll stop the reading there and say this in such a time. I'm going to use this opportunity to state that if you're a man out there suffering, it's okay to tell another man that you're not okay. There are a lot of men suffering right now. So as I read this, I just want to put that out there and get help, which term you advocate for this over and over inside of this book. Can you share on your learnings of working through the suppressing my boys' emotions and allowing them the safety to have that experience for themselves?
You just got to try it for yourself. Me and you grew up the same way with the shut up. You want to cry? You want, all the toxic things that our parents learned from their parents. It was a different world. They didn't have all that, DSS, CPS, all that. You call somebody, they come take your kids away. They didn't have that back in the days, bro. Everybody was getting beat and everybody was getting smacked up. And for the most part, most of the kids, at least where I grew up, everybody got hit as a kid. This is regular stuff. But I think that more deeper than that is like, not only like you shouldn't be beating on nobody, but deeper than that, like, man, you can't even let the kid cry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, yo, you want to cry, go to your room and go over there until you get yourself together. And that's even being tough in this era. You know what I mean? Like, but you got to give people space, man. Everybody wants their space. If you're going through it, you don't want somebody all up in your face, man. And that's no different for these kids, right? So that's why the first thing I led with is if they're being respectful and they're not hurting themselves. I'm not telling you, yeah, let the kid do whatever they want. They can go hurt themselves or they can, swear at you or run away or whatever. No, I'm saying, like, if they're just upset, let them be upset and, try to talk through it. You know what I mean? That's kind of like the approach that I have. And I got 2 girls. Sometimes girls don't want to talk to their dad at all the whole day. Nothing to say, even if you want to talk to them and you want to try to fix it. It's like time heals all, man. You just got to let people, go through their emotions and just go through the motions.
In wrapping this interview up, I really want to make sure that I do the best job of glorifying the Good Dad Gang and what this movement is and how people can get involved in this and become a part of a community. Because I consider, like, Neff and I talk about parenting, I would say, more than we talk about, deals or marketing or any other things.
It's real stuff, man. And that's kind of that's kind of where my passion led me, because if you know anything about me as Termanology, I'm really passionate with the rap. I love rapping. I'm rapping every day. I'm rapping in my sleep. I'm waking up writing raps. I got album after album after album, that ain't even out yet, that's finished. Already pressed up, waiting for release dates and videos. And I'm so passionate about it. But even that being said, I'm more passionate about Good Dad Gang, because the world is already full with good rappers, right? Like, people don't necessarily need a Termanology album, but I feel like people definitely need that book right there. Everybody, mothers, fathers, kids, everybody should check it out. And I think that there's something to learn from reading it. It's not only about being a dad, it's a self-help book overall.
It is. It's turned into a daily affirmation book for me. And I have used this and because it disturbs my thought process of what I think it means to be a good dad on a daily basis. Like
Wow.
every time I read this, I'm challenged to become an even greater dad.
That means a lot to me, because that was the whole point of, why I wrote it. It was like, I think one of the chapters I said something to the effect of, I seen a book one time that was a self-help book, and I was like, I don't need that. I'm a good dad. I got offended by it. And then later, I thought to myself, what do you mean? We can always get better at everything, especially if it comes to taking care of your kids and communicating with people you love. We can always get better at that. And if that book is going to help people do that, then I'm going to keep pushing that book until the day I die. You know what I mean?
And I'm going to help you push this book, and I'm going to help you push the Good Dad Gang movement, because it is, Purpose Chasers, it has really impacted my life and my parenting, and I'm a really, really big fan. I just got to say this to end the interview. The world does need about 10 more Termanology albums. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, well, there's 10 done already, so they're coming out no matter what.
So I thank you so much for coming on, and I'm really, really, really grateful that you took such a risk, because I do view this as a risk to share this message and this movement inside of a culture that glorifies the opposite.
Yeah, it's deeper than that. I mean, you're sharing the risk of, half of the world feeling some kind of way about you, right? Because especially in the era we're in right now, every time I open my phone, all I see is divisiveness. All I see is them constantly putting the man against the woman. They're constantly doing that, right? And so every other post is a man talking about how he doesn't like what women do these days. The next post is, women, I don't like what men do these days. So it's so much deeper than just our culture. It's like, okay, there's 8 billion people in this world, and if half are women and half are men, you write a whole book standing up for men and teaching men how to not get played. You might have a whole lot of women that are not really happy with you because they don't agree with you, or whatever the case. They might have had a bad dad or a bad baby dad or a bad boyfriend so they already got that negative feeling when men are brought up, right? It's a lot of women feel like that in this world. So I'm happy that, like, my gut feeling was right. My gut feeling was like, okay, there's going to be some people that don't agree with the message in this book or don't even want to hear it, but it's not specifically written for them anyway. So my gut was, just drop it. Your intentions are good. And to be honest, I have not got one bad review from any woman. It's been the opposite. It's always been like, wow, I loved your book. It was great. I'm gonna buy one for my brother. I'm gonna buy one for my husband. It helped me, and I'm not even a dad, or it helped me understand more how he thinks now, stuff like that. So it actually worked in the opposite way. I was like, wow, I was kind of nervous. I was like, man, women are gonna hate me because they didn't think I'm bashing them, but I'm really not. I'm actually holding men accountable through the whole book, and I'm also holding women accountable as well through the whole book.
And I experienced the accountability, like I shared. I'm challenged to grow and to be a better father. And I'm grateful for your work and for the risks that you took and for a lot of hate that I'm sure that you experienced. But I didn't.
Yeah, not from the book, but just Good Dad Gang experienced a lot of hate. When I first started posting it, under the comment would be like, oh, these dudes don't take care of their kids, F these dudes. And I would just leave it alone because I'm not the type of person to argue with people in comments, and that's your personal experience. The clapbacks were legendary though from some of the dads though. You can imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I just I let that weed itself out, but I don't entertain negativity.
Daniel, thank you so much for coming on the Purpose Chasers podcast, and thank you for the stand that you took and for the advocacy work that you're doing for not only men that are going through custody battles, but the advocacy work that you're doing for mental health as a whole.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. If you want to check out the book, you can get it at gooddadgang.com, or you can just search it on Amazon and it'll be right at you, free shipping.
And you go right in the show notes and the link will be in there as well. Thank you again.
Salute, bro.